Hi everybody, it's great to be back here again on Itamar. It's Friday and we want to get to our Torah lesson, of course. I just want a few words right now. It's a very, very special time for us here on Itamar. This coming Wednesday is going to be a year since the terrible massacre of the Fogel family. There's going to be a very special event here on Itamar, starting with really in the morning hours, there's going to be beautiful Torah study all day long, and Torah classes in their memory. And then in the afternoon, around 4 o'clock, we're going to have a dedication of a Torah scroll in the name of the Fogel family, leaving from the Fogel house, and we'll be marching along the new road of Itamar, and we'll be making our way to the new building, which is being inaugurated in the name of the Fogel family as well. So these very, very special memorial projects that were done in their name are all happening on this coming Wednesday, and of course you're all invited, and we'd love to see as many people as we can, and we of course expect a lot of people will be there, and we expect the number to be up there over 1,000 people. Some people say 3,000, but we don't know yet. But you're all invited to come and join us for a very special day. And our message to the world is that terrorism has no gain, and this evilness will not win. And our response is this beautiful new dedication of a building where a lot of Torah study will be learned, and a lot more people, thousands of more people will study there throughout the years and come to settle in the land of Israel and build the land. So that's our response to terrorism. In this light, it's a beautiful portion. This week's portion is Parashat Terumah. Terumah, of course, the portion dealing with the beautiful building of the tabernacle, and with all the intricate details are involved here in this portion. And a lot of times the question comes up is, why does the Torah have to go through so many little details in describing the building of the tabernacle? And we know that, of course, the tabernacle was a temporary building, but of course it's leading to the final building, the temple. And not only that, as we all know, every detail represents something very, very spiritual, and every word of the Torah is to be understood and learned and studied in many, many levels. And although certain parts of the Torah are to be understood on a simple level of all the different chains that connect the different parts of the tabernacle, the different bases they had in the wood, and the different kinds of curtains and everything else, but there's also spiritual, very, very deep spiritual meaning behind everything. And in our esoteric teachings, there are so many details. This portion is full of teachings about the spiritual meaning behind everything here. Let's put that all aside, and I want to focus today on the opening verse of this week's portion, and we'll read the verse, and hopefully from here we'll develop a nice lesson. And it opens up by this, the Torah saying, "Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe leimor," and God said to Moses, saying, "Daber el bnei Yisrael," speak to the children of Israel, "V'ikhu li terumah," and they will take for me Trumah, a dedication, from every person that has this in his heart to give, except my Trumah. Okay? Now it's very interesting that, first of all, the language that's used here, V'yichul li terumah, you will take me. If I translate literally, it means V'yichul li, you will take me, terumah, as a Trumah, as a gift, as a offering. Trumah meaning a donation. And the question is, this language itself is very difficult to understand. What do you mean you'll take me as an offering? I mean, the word, first of all, take, doesn't really fit in here. In Hebrew, really, you should say, V'yetnuli, you should give me. Right? If God is using his name here, you should give it. This is a gift for God in one way, building the tabernacle. But why doesn't it say the word give? It says, it says V'yichul, and they will take. And that's a very interesting question, and many commentaries bring this down. That's number one. Number two is, what is this whole thing that when we're building out a tabernacle, God is commanding, and it also is mentioning his name, like V'yichul, you'll take it from me, or take me. What does this all mean that we are acquiring God? What does this all have to do with this? In order to understand this, the Midrash, again, we spoke many times about different Midrashim, and one of the Midrashim, Breshit Rabbah, opens up this week's portion by bringing a verse from Mishlei, from the famous Proverbs, and it says, Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al tazavu. When God describing the Torah, He describes the Torah as Ki lekach tov natati lachem. I have given you a good acquisition, Torati, my Torah. Al tazav, don't leave my Torah. Ki lekach tov natati lachem. And an understanding of this whole thing. First of all, what does this verse mean? Ki lekach tov natati lachem. Rav Chalap, one of the great rabbis of the last generation, Rav Chalap, who was a student of Rav Kook, very great Torah giant, amazing Torahs. He wrote a book. He wrote huge volumes of Torah called Mei Merom on different areas of the Torah and the portions of the week. And I saw when he explains this verse, he says something very interesting. He says that the Torah really here is that has two parts to it. Now, what does it mean, two parts to it? If a person usually buys something, the buyer and the seller, the buyer has the upper hand. What does that mean? The seller, a lot of times the seller doesn't want to sell it, but he's forced to sell something because he's always in a bind, some kind of financial bind. He wants to sell something he has. He has no choice. He doesn't want to part with it. Sometimes the seller wants to part with it, but many times someone sells something because doesn't really want to part with it. He has no choice. So the buyer is in the upper hand who purchase it. That's a buyer and seller relationship. On the other hand, when someone gives a gift, the giver is on the upper hand. Why? Because when someone gives a gift, he's giving his love over to someone else, but the person receiving the gift is on the receiving end, and a lot of times there's a lot of almost embarrassment to be on the receiving end. So what is God saying? Ki lekach tov natati lecha. I have given you the Torah as an acquisition, which means for us, we are buying it. Okay, so we have that feeling of, on the upper hand, of being the buyers of the Torah. But not only that, natati lechem, it also has this idea of a gift. It also uses the word to give. It also has the side that God gives this gift, and His love is within the Torah, and He's giving over Himself. That love, showing us love, so we have really both sides in that direction. That's number one. Number two, I should put this phone over here. Number two, the question we have to ask ourselves after this beautiful opening verse about the Midrash, about the Torah, the question is, why does the Midrash decide to open up the Midrash dealing with this week's portion about relating to the Torah? This whole thing that the Torah has these two sides to it, which I explained. But still, okay, it's a wonderful Midrash, but what is the connection to this week's portion? Why is it connected? But of course, if we look, we don't have to look too far to figure out some kind of connection. If we look in the first verse, it says, Ki lekach tov natati lachem. Okay? And then the first verse says, Vichuli. The same exact words used as the Proverbs, Ki lekach tov, and a good acquisition. The word Vikhu is also the same word of acquisition, which means that the Midrash is connecting the Torah, this whole receiving of the Torah, together with the tabernacle. It's bringing some kind of connection. We have to understand this connection. In order to explain myself a little more, I'd like to bring down another interesting explanation I saw, that from the Rebbe the Rebbe from Kotzker Rebbe, which he says that the Torah, on one hand, if you look at the Torah, we have the holiday which we celebrated giving over the Torah. It's called Matan Torah, right? God giving over the Torah to us. And now we celebrate on the holiday of Shavuot. Okay? That's called Matan, from the word giving, really. But if we look throughout the year, of course, we're working really on Kabbalat Torah, receiving the Torah. So there's a giving over the Torah, by God giving us that special day. But the receiving of the Torah on the receiving end wasn't only that one time Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah for the Jewish nation on the mountain of Sinai, but it's really a lifelong experience. The giving of the Torah is every single day of the year, 24 hours a day. We're actually receiving this Torah. So the Torah was given over, but it's now it's out there. Now we have to go actually receive it and take it to ourselves and go into that Torah and study. And the more we study, the more we develop, the more the Torah becomes part of us, and the more we acquire the Torah. So Torah, yes, was given on a particular day, but the acquisition of Torah is a constant process of our spiritual labor and spiritual work that we do in order to actually take that acquisition of the Torah and make it become part of us. And that's the whole beauty of of the combination of lekach ki lekach tov natati lechem. I gave you acquisition. Natati, I've given it to you, but you have to acquire it by the actual work. So he looks at it as another way, explaining those two sides that we're constantly working hard to acquire. Now, let's try to put all these different ideas a little bit together and get back to what I was saying in the beginning. What is the connection between the tabernacle and this whole acquisition of the Torah, or understanding the word of the Torah having these two sides to it, being again a giver and a receiver? What is this whole connection with the tabernacle? First of all, the Ramban, the great commentary, one of the Rishonim, he has a beautiful explanation by saying that, first of all, the Torah, the beautiful ma'amad, this amazing event of receiving Torah, the divine presence resting upon the mountain and the entire Jewish people receiving this Torah, this process of the divine presence reaching this world continued over on through the next stage to the building of the tabernacle. The whole concept of a tabernacle is to actually continue to maintain the divine presence amongst us. So what happened on Mount Sinai is really a continuation here happening in the tabernacle itself. And that is one of the great connections of the Torah, connecting the Torah together with the whole building of the tabernacle itself. But even more so, if we look at the words kinyan, when we are making this acquisition of tabernacle by giving over, by donating to being part of this amazing building of the divine presence, we're actually, with that donation, we're becoming part of the tabernacle in a way that God's presence is now resting within us. Because it says, "V'yichuli," you'll take me. What does it mean, you'll take me? By us giving and donating to the tabernacle, God is becoming part of our lives. And this is bringing God into our lives. That's the whole beautiful concept of taking a building and making it a holy spiritual building, and this building, we're actually creating a place of God's divine presence. It was an amazing, amazing thing where God created in this world this ability to allow us to connect with Him, to His divine presence to rest upon us in this world and here. There's a beautiful midrash which I'd like to read, another midrash, and I think this puts it all together we've spoken about until now. And the midrash says like this: Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, and God said to the Jewish people, Atem tzoni, you are my flock. Vani ro'eh, and I am your shepherd. Shememar ro'eh Yisrael hazina, as it says in the verse, Shepherd, O Israel, listen. Asu dir lero'eh sheyavo v'yireh etchem. God says, make a pen for the flock, so the shepherd can come and actually herd you. So God is saying, make me a pen, so I can come and be your shepherd. And as it says in the verse, you will make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell amongst you. And then the Midrash goes on to say, Atem kerem, you are a vineyard. Vani shomer, and I am a watchman. Asu sukkah, make a booth. L'shomer, for the watchman, she can watch over you. So again, the first thing is the shepherd, and then making the sukkah for the vineyard. And then God goes on to say, Atem banim, you are my children. Vani avichem, I am your father. As it says, banim atem, you are my children, to the Lord your God, and I am your father. And then it goes on to say, Ki hayiti l'Yisrael la'av, because I was to Israel a father. Kavod lebanim k'shehen etzel avihen, and it is the honor for the children to be next to their father. And it's the honor of the father when the children to be next to his children. Make me a house. Asu bayit la'av. God is saying, make a house for the father, that he can come and he can live next to his children. And that's what it says, Vasuli mikdash, and make me a sanctuary, and I will dwell amongst you. This midrash is amazing. Every time I read, I get shivers. But first of all, we see so much in this midrash, and as I always mentioned before, it's packed with spiritual energy and with spiritual messages in these beautiful midrashim. But first of all, if we look at just want to give a few reflections I personally feel with this midrash, is one, it begins by talking about a shepherd and his flock. When we picture a shepherd and a flock, it first reminds us of the sheep being scattered over the mountain hills. Scattered over the mountains over there, and then he has to gather them up and let the shepherd dwell in a pen nearby, a little room next to watch over the flock and gather them together. This of course refers to the first stage as a nation, having to be gathered up. We were scattered around the world. We're always scattered out as a nation, but bringing us again to one as a one shepherd. Hinting, of course, to Israel, returning us to the land, and of course reflecting the exile when we're outside the land. And the next stage is the vineyard. The vineyard already represents the land. Here, the vineyard, God watching over his vineyard. Again, a vineyard, what do you know? It's not like the sheep that are moving, but it has already they're rooted into the ground, this vineyard, of course. And the whole concept of the vineyard also represents the faith, a certain level of faith, where a farmer, as we know, plants and he grows, hoping that there will be rain and hoping that the soil will allow for his produce to give good produce and let it take root properly. There's a lot of faith in a farmer. He has to really pray for the rains and a lot of prayer. This represents the Jewish nation coming closer, another closer level. But still the booth. Here the father is now a watchman. The watchman is watching over us. But there's still a relationship, difference between a watchman and the vineyard. It's still like purposely related by the Midrash. There's a distance. There's always a little distance. Still, vineyard is like an inanimate thing. It's a thing, not exactly inanimate, but it's a life, but it's a plant life. There's still some kind of distance over there. That's number one. Number two, a booth has a very, very weak roof. It doesn't hardly have a roof over that. And then the next beautiful example is a father and a son saying, build me a house. And the house is strong with stone. And that relation is, of course, there's nothing greater than the relation of the father and the son, reflecting this amazing relationship of the Jewish people and God. As a slow process of, from exile, returning to the land of Israel, and then God, of course, reaching out to us and having us build, of course, a sanctuary for Him. And this whole process of these three levels is exactly what the stage of the world, the process of the world going through. Until this point now, even our first and second temple were temporary buildings because they were destroyed. And us traveling from exile, our sheep scattered about, and slowly, but God willing, we are reaching to the situation where we will build finally our third temple, an everlasting building in the land of Hashem, in Israel. This reminds me of another midrash which says there were our three forefathers. Abraham called the holy temple place a mountain, and Isaac called it a field, and Jacob called it a house. So when Abraham called it a mountain, again, that's sort of the sheep. It's still way prehistoric, as we say, prehistoric. It's still a situation where we're wandering and we're not reaching rectification 100%. The next stage was getting closer, a field. This is the vineyard. The vineyard stage, we have some plantations there, but they can't get uprooted, and it's still something that's weak. But finally, the final stage, a home, a house, which will be built on the everlasting place in Jerusalem, and that's what, of course, we're all waiting for. This message of a slow process of building, but slowly bringing God, the divine, into our lives and into into the land. We can also look on a personal level. Every person is lifetime. As individuals, as we grow as human beings more spiritually and try to find the proper direction in this world, we begin as shepherds, really the flock, looking around, wandering around, searching in different directions, trying to find some kind of leadership direction in our spiritual lives. But of course, if we work hard enough, we reach the next stage where we become like a vineyard. We plant ourselves strongly, root ourselves into the ground with a certain direction, a spiritual direction. And then, of course, as this happens, we're building our spiritual level, and therefore we already have a booth now with a roof on it, but it's a shallow roof. It's a little weak roof there, but it's a stronger existence than a sheep running around scattered looking for a spiritual way in this world. We've moved closer. We've moved much closer, still much closer to Hashem. But of course, as we search more and more and build more our spiritual lives, eventually we are likened to the sons of Hashem, the children of God. Because our house, in our own personal homes, we build a strong, steadfast, building in our homes where we bring God into our houses. And God says, as long as everything you do, you're doing it for me, for my sake, I'm with you. And that's the beauty here of this whole tabernacle story. Because we are building the house of Hashem. In this house of Hashem, and every stone and every object and that's going into this building, Hashem is there with us if we're doing it for the proper intentions of finding Hashem and letting Him join us and be part of our lives. And that is the whole beauty of the tabernacle. It's a great message that's all behind this amazing words over here. Well, just to wrap it up again, because I do hope I clarified myself and this wasn't a little bit too mishmash. We began by talking about Ki lekach tov natati lachem. I have given you a great acquisition. Don't leave my Torah. That's the whole beautiful thing by taking the Torah as an acquisition. Bring it into our lives. It disconnects it with the tabernacle. Because the tabernacle, again, is bringing Hashem and making that home for Hashem within our personal home, and of course on on the national scale, building it in the land of Israel, building the temple here in the land of Israel for the entire nation of Israel to be close to Hashem and have that divine presence rest upon us. And from here, for the entire world to hear the message, the spiritual message, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, from Zion the Torah go out, Udvar Hashem, and the word of God from Yerushalayim, from Jerusalem. Shabbat Shalom. It's great to be back. We'll be in touch very, very soon. Shabbat Shalom, and come and join us again. Bye.